So the first request, as you can probably tell from the title of this video, is to talk about the strangeness of sharks. So I'd like to thank my ever lovely friend Sydney for requesting that. Now, shark strangeness is a pretty large topic to say the least, and that's mainly because Elasmobranchs, which is the group sharks, skates and rays are part of, is a pretty massively diverse group. There is a really diverse range of behaviours, just in hunting strategies and mating, in their food they eat, in the habitats they occupy, in their breeding strategies. There's a lot of diversity there. Because of that, I thought instead of doing one video, where I probably won't be able to fit much information in, I thought I'd do a couple of different short videos concentrating on different sort of aspects of shark biology and talking about just a couple of sharks in each one and what makes them particularly weird in that aspect. What I'm going to talk about first is something I think that a lot of people may find particularly interesting, which is shark feeding and the adaptation sharks may have to hunt or to feed. So the first species I am going to be talking about is the Thresher shark. There are actually 3 extant species of Thresher shark, extant being the opposite of extinct. The characteristic that is shared between all Thresher sharks and makes them a strange and unique hunter is their tail, their caudal fin, which is actually extended upwards quite significantly, and it's known as a heterocircle tail. However, their heterocircle tail is particularly enhanced and it makes up about half the length of their body. The tail of the Thresher shark is actually the root of their wonderfully weird hunting behaviour, and they use it like a whip to stun their prey so that they can capture and eat it. This hunting strategy, which is known as tail slapping, has actually been really difficult to study, mainly because Thresher sharks live in open ocean, their population numbers are quite low, and a tail slap can last about 2 seconds on average, and that includes the preparation time, the slap itself and the wind down recovery phase, so it's an incredibly quick event. For a long time there was actually a debate about whether or not the tail was used for hunting, and it wasn't until about 10 years ago that people were actually able to start videoing this event happening in person. They were able to put video cameras underwater and see those Thresher sharks managing to slap at schools of fish with their tail, stun them, and then go along to grab them and eat them. Since then, the tail slap behaviour has been studied in quite a bit more depth now, and it's been noted that it is an incredibly effective hunting strategy despite how weird it actually is. On average, 1 in 3 tail slaps actually successfully manage to stun fish, and it tends to stun multiple fish per tail slap. So it's a really effective way for Thresher sharks to manage to catch prey. Now, the Goblin Shark is a very weird looking shark to say the least, and it's probably one that you might have seen before due to its very unusual appearance. This unusual appearance is where it got its name from, the Goblin Shark, and it's also linked to its very cool feeding strategy. Now, this species was initially also very difficult to study due to the fact that it lives at depths of 1,300 metres and below. It wasn't until about 2008 that divers were actually able to record it feeding. However, we have known that it existed since the 19th century, and it's always been something that was really interesting to people because it has these very weird shaped jaws, and people always wondered how it managed to eat. So when they finally managed to start recording this creature in the wild and see it eating, they realised that its jaws worked like a slingshot, and that's how it's been come to known as slingshot feeding. What happens is that its jaw expands, it's retracted backwards, and then it shoots forwards with its teeth facing outwards so it can snatch onto prey and pull it back into its mouth. This feeding behaviour likely developed due to the deep sea environments where the Goblin Shark lives. Food is pretty scarce down there, so being able to grab onto food quickly and from a further distance away is really effective. So it means that it can capture a wider variety of prey, and it can capture it more effectively as well. Watching videos of a Goblin Shark feed is pretty amazing. However, it does make it understandable why some people think sharks are a bit creepy. Now, a shark which may sound deceptively cute is the Cookiecutter shark, but do not be fooled by its name. The Cookiecutter shark is about 50 centimetres in length, and there are about 3 species believed to exist today. However, despite their really small size, they actually feed on whales, dolphins, porpoises, cetaceans, which are significantly bigger than them and can be metres long. But how does a little 50 centimetre long shark actually manage to feed on these massive animals? The Cookiecutter shark actually feeds sort of how it is named. It has a round or more oval shaped mouth depending on which species you are looking at, and it latches onto the skin the flesh of the animal it is wanting to eat from. It then digs its teeth in and it shimmies its body about a little. Some people believe that it actually manages to vibrate its teeth, which allows it to then rip off a big circular chunk of flesh, leaving that perfect circular scar and hole in their body behind. The distinctive mark that the Cookiecutter shark left behind led to their name, and it's also been a way that scientists have been able to track where the distribution of this small shark is and also what their feeding habits are. Now, the sawfish loosely fits into the category of strange sharks, and that's mainly because there is a bit of a debate going on about whether it is actually a shark or if it is a ray. Regardless of that, it is still an elasmobranch and it's really strange and really cool, so I'm going to talk about it anyway. Now, there are 5 extant species of sawfish around today. There's the narrow, the large tooth, the small tooth, the dwarf and the green sawfish, and where I work we actually have 2 green sawfish there. Now, what groups the sawfish and what makes them pretty weird and pretty cool is their rostrum. Now, the rostrum is an extension of their skull and it has a line of teeth along each side of it. This rostrum allows them to do their really cool hunting behaviours, and they basically swing that rostrum from side to side and they can use it to pin prey, to stun it, to manipulate it, to search through sediment for food. It has a lot of different uses and it is really amazing to look at. However, that rostrum, it does make them an effective hunter, but it also has partially led to their downfall, actually quite significantly led to their downfall. When fishing became more prominent, especially net fishing, that rostrum can sometimes get caught in it when they're trying to catch fish which they've managed to spot in these big bundles, unfortunately because they're caught in nets, and that can lead to the sawfish getting stuck in the nets as well and often dying. Also, for hundreds of years sawfish have been hunted because people like to use that rostrum as a weapon, and it also makes a really good fishing trophy, unfortunately. Luckily, despite that, there is a lot of charities and conservation groups who are trying to put a lot of effort into restoring these populations, protecting them, reducing hunting, and working on breeding programs as well. So hopefully maintain their populations in the wild and improve them, because unfortunately they are listed as critically endangered. So there we have it, some of the weird and wacky ways that sharks manage to feed and hunt in the wild. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to leave them in a comment below, or you can send them to me on my social medias, which will also be linked in the description. I'll have some links to the papers that I read to create this video in the description below as well, so if you want to learn a bit more, feel free to check them out. Thank you for watching, everybody, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you would like to learn more.